Hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of Live from Krakoa, Not Another Mutant Story. I'm Cap,
And Perseus.
and today we've got one of my favorite Captain America stories to cover. As you guys know, I'm a big Cap fan, but today we're going to cover Capwolf. This is a six-part series written by the famous Captain America writer Mark Greenwald and illustrated by Rick Levins at a time where Captain America was really cool and really flashy for me, guys. This is the pinnacle of my comics. So
If he ever was really cool or flashy. But let's carry on.
you'll notice I may count to 10 quite a few times here tonight, guys. So we're starting off with Captain America number. Ooh, we're gonna have to rewind that. So we start off with Captain America issue 402. We cut to this really cool scene where we've got this guy running in the woods. We can't tell what he's running from, and then all of a sudden this big female werewolf comes out and he's ripping his throat out, and there's oddly covered really dark black blood that falls down on the ground, and you see the man fall to his death. And we get a weird character choice for Captain America. We see our boy from the X-Men, Wolverine. Yes, it's Logan himself coming in, and he sniffs some brown blood.
Yeah. If you want to call it blood,
It's supposed to be blood. We are at a time where the Comics Code Authority is in its heyday.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things they won't allow us to show for the sake of children reading their books. At a time where censorship was at its all-time high.
So they just change blood from red to black
Or in this
brown.
case, like a brownish gray.
At one
Really
point,
throws you off
at
for a
one
minute.
point, it looks like Folgers coffee. Like it's it's pretty bad.
But we got our boy Wolverine on the case.
And it's not so weird that Wolverine would be a part of this
Yeah.
because he
He
has the
has
animal
his own
instincts like a
connection to
wolf.
his animal instincts, and there's a lot of characters out
They
there.
always
that do.
associate a wolf with them.
Right. The Wolverine has always been a wolf, and if you know what a Wolverine is, you know how completely far off Marvel has been for
Right.
some decades now.
Yeah, it's more like a badger.
Exactly. But we cut to our next scene. We've got Captain America working out with his friend D-Man, who's in a slightly catatonic state, just no reaction. And Cap goes to Black Widow and says, "Hey, I need you to run the Avengers for me. I got some stuff I got to do. I got some people I got to find. I've neglected too many of my friends." And she's like, "Cool, I got you, Cap." Cap goes in to see his old friend, Peggy Carter, who at this time is running the Captain America hotline. And he asked Peggy, "Have you heard anything about my old friend, J. Jonah Jameson Jr.?" And she says, "No, Cap, John's been missing for a while." Well, if you know anything about JJJJJJ's history, you know that at one point he possessed the stone called the Moonstone. This Moonstone affected differently than something that you guys may have seen in some of the recent Disney Plus movies, the Werewolf by Midnight, the Bloodstone. From the same family but much different, this stone only affects werewolves.
And it attracts them.
Right.
The bloodstone doesn't attract the monsters.
Exactly. So Cap wants to make sure his old buddy's okay. It's been a long time since he's seen him. We cut to this really weird guy in some really weird gear that's training a bunch of werewolves. He's got his whip out. He's getting them to sit down.
Yeah.
Somewhere near where this man has just died that we saw at the beginning of the book.
Right. Yeah. Moon
Hunter.
Moon Hunter.
Hunter.
It's the most 90s character, silver faced, red eyed,
Yes.
with dreads.
No mouth.
Metal
dreads.
metal dreads.
Metal dreads. Drives around on this motorcycle that flies.
Like low budget Lobo.
Right. There's a lot of like straight up 90s stuff in this book. It's what makes it so close to my heart. But we get back to Cap. He goes and finds J. Jonah Jameson Sr., the man we all know and love running the Daily Bugle, the same guy that hates Spider-Man, loves and respects his Captain America. So when Cap comes to him for a question, he says, "Hey, we've fallen out for a while. I don't know where John is. I'm really worried about him."
Nate, the way he treats Cap compared
to Spider-Man.
is insane.
It is complete
It's
night and day.
pathological.
It's all Spider-Man's a menace because he wears a mask, but Captain America comes in and nobody's known who he was since the 40s.
Well, Jay Jonah,
yes, sir.
Jay Jonah, though, he's looking for what'll sell. Like you can't demonize Captain
Right,
America.
but he hates Spider-Man to a core. He
does.
cannot do that to Cap. We all know and love and respect Cap because he is the best.
I mean,
Yeah, you're not even arguing that.
he's not. He's
So
not
Cap knows we've got the Moonstone involved here with John. So he goes to get aid from one of our mystical Avengers. Now, for those of you that didn't read a lot of Avengers in the 90s, or in the 80s actually, we're running into an old school Avenger by the name of Dr. Druid. Not to be confused with Doctor Strange. Dr. Druid was an Avenger, and he was our magical Avenger for a long time.
He is basically Doctor Strange.
He is basically Doctor Strange, but not. He's come back from the dead a couple of times.
Yeah, his power base is different than the.
He has a power base where Doctor Strange was a talented surgeon that had came in and studied to be Doctor Strange.
You never need to really know
Dr.
the
Druid
background
was
for
a
Druid.
We really don't. We don't need to go into this. This is more than anybody's talked about Dr. Druid in the past freaking decade.
I think most people look at you cross-eyed, wondering what you're talking about.
Doctor Who? No, you meant Strange
I
with
think
the
you mean
hands.
Strange, yeah.
No, absolutely not. So we get our boy Dr. Druid, and Captain America gets him on the back end of, God, the most amazing piece of automotive history when it comes to the Avengers. Captain America's Sky Cycle.
No.
This is this cycle that flies around just above the trees or into the sky if need be. That has the holster for a shield
speeder,
right in the
basically.
front. A speeder with some, altitude. But they cruise down, and Dr. Druid is using his powers because he can sense the Moonstone. And when they get to this little town, this huge werewolf pops up when they go down to investigate, where this guy had died and where they're getting this signal from. And then this big female werewolf just comes right out at him. Dr. Druid, completely useless. So let's get to Cap. He's fighting this girl. Dr. Druid is still using his weird powers.
His divination powers.
God. And then Moonhunter comes in and snatches back the werewolf. He's like, hey, Cap, you shouldn't be here. Well, Cap throws his shield to try to snap the wire to save the female werewolf. Because, of course, Cap is the greatest at heart. Even enemies are victims sometimes.
Sure.
But the wire doesn't snap. It's stronger than Captain America's adamantium and vibranium lace shield. What is this? What's going on? They get into this chase, and Druid is still trying to sense what's going on around him. All right, so now Captain America and Moonhunter, it's time to go down. So Moonhunter jumps on his Sky Cycle thing, and Captain America jumps on the Sky Cycle trademark. And they start chasing. Cap's giving chase to Moonhunter, and while he's out there coming down on him, he ends up getting his Sky Cycle blasted by the Moonhunter. So he jumps onto his, they're fighting, he pulls out this big shotgun, double barrel to the chest, Cap gets knocked off. Cap falls to the ground.
Not a hole through his fucking chest.
Well, I'm sorry, not knocked off. He gets knocked off the bike and falls down. Captain America's not going out like no chump like that. And Moonhunter keeps on going towards the town where he's got his little thing going on. And as he's riding through, Wolverine catches glimpse of him. He's still trying to track down what killed that man in the woods. So Wolverine starts heading towards where Moonhunter is. He lands, and there's this lady doctor that's doing an experiment on another werewolf. And you got all these docile werewolves around him, and he brings in the werewolf that had attacked Captain America. And we cut back to Cap, who is going back to find Dr. Druid. So he goes back, he finds Dr. Druid, and he's just laying there. He comes up to Dr. Druid. Doc, are you okay? Oh my God, I hope you didn't die. He's like, nah. While you were out fighting, I just decided to collect all my strength and sit here and meditate. Let's go!
Worst character ever. Well, I don't know. Squirrel Girl's pretty bad.
Yeah, Squirrel Girl still took down Thanos. I don't think Dr. Druid's got that to his resume. Great book. So Dr. Druid and Captain America continue on their quest to find out what's going on and try to find this link with the Moonstone and find John Jameson Jr. As they're heading down the road, we get back to Wolverine, who has been tracking down these werewolves, and he finally finds them in this town. They're all attacking him. So somehow Moonhunter uses the Moonstone to take control of Wolverine. And they bring him in and they inject him with all this crazy stuff, and they've got him acting like the werewolf.
Well, the doctor was like dumbfounded because like she shows when they try to before they try to control him, they tried to change him into the werewolf, and she injects him with the serum. And he turns into it, but then quickly turns back, and she's like, his healing factors is fighting it faster than it can take hold.
They don't know that it's Wolverine. They just found this guy with claws that looks like a wolf. So him changing back, they're like, oh crap, we got to do more.
Yeah. So instead of trying to keep injecting him or whatever, this new villain, this new villain,
this weird guy in this big purple cape that you don't see his face yet.
Yeah, that you don't know who it is yet. But he brainwashes Wolverine. Which, let's be honest, Wolverine's always been susceptible.
He's always been susceptible to mental manipulation and stuff like that. That's where his weakness is, guys.
He's not the brightest guy.
It's not that. His brain's been mucked with so many times. It just leaves it weaker.
Well, yeah, but I mean, not only that, but it's been shot so many times.
Right. Riddled with holes in it. That's a whole new brain. Technically, would that be a new Wolverine?
No. Same, everything down to the same DNA.
Right, but in discussion for another time. Captain America and Dr. Druid are still tracking, and they end up coming up to this town where Wolverine was just caught in. Starksboro. And as they're pulling up to Starksboro and they walk into town, all of a sudden, shut up. Shout out to Stark. As they're walking into this town, they're all of a sudden surrounded by a bunch of werewolves. And this brings us up to midway point. Remember, guys, these midway through the stories, we've got a lot of build up. Bam. This is where they're going to punch you in the gut with it.
Yeah, well, and this... So, I mean, this whole story is kind of like over the top ridiculous, but...
Right. Name a 90s story that wasn't, though.
Yeah, that's true. But at least with this, they brought in some characters to just say, hey, what the hell? We haven't used this one in forever, and there was a reason why. I mean, the dude doesn't even really fight the whole book.
No.
And then obviously you got to throw Wolverine in there because he was hot at the time. Like, that was
Wolverine was their bread and butter, and you're throwing in a lot of characters into a book. So a lot of times back in the day, guys, in the 90s, when you were reading a book, you didn't get a lot of extra people in there unless it was like a big story, something that they were putting a lot into. Like, you're reading X-Men, you're only seeing X-Men and X-Men villains. Very rarely does Spider-Man dip in to help them, but they're still fighting in Manhattan.
Well, and that's they used to have a series where it was Marvel team-ups,
Right,
and
that had a lot of those stories together.
Yeah, where they would, have one be the star of it, like Spider-Man, or The Thing had a run.
Right. Yeah,
and
The Thing in Spider-Man was quite a few of them.
Yeah, so, they had those, but it was very common for them to inject a really popular character like Spider-Man or Wolverine into other comics that weren't doing as well. So,
as a matter of fact, some of those Marvel team-up books are actually showcased in the first ever Thanos story, where they actually kill Thanos and cement him in that block. There was, I think it was a Marvel team-up Thing in Spider-Man, actually, that crosses over into those books. So those books weren't just like a side book that nobody paid attention to. They were in a lot of continuity.
Well, and they brought quite a few, first appearances for characters through Marvel team-ups.
Oh, yeah. Quite a bit, yeah.
The first appearance in the U.S. of Captain Britain was in the Spider-Man and Captain Britain team-up.
Yeah, and there's a lot of different examples of that where they were, there's a really popular character. Let's see how this character does, and if we get some positive feedback, he could turn into a book. But when you got a singular book like Captain America, or even like Wolverine at the time, or, Cable, Punisher, Daredevil, there wasn't a lot of interaction. So this book to have, not only some new characters to pop up, You've got Wolverine coming in. He went to Dr. Druid. He's crossing over and talking to J. Jonah Jameson, who is, primarily a Spider-Man character.
I'm just sitting here thinking, man, they teamed Wolverine during the '90s. Wolverine was everywhere.
Absolutely,
like
everybody.
he was, him, Cap, and Scarlet Witch fought to get, where it teamed up.
There's the Punisher team up.
The Punisher. There was all those Marvel Presents Wolverine.
All sorts of different ones. He's in the Typhoid Mary story from Daredevil.
Yeah. And the Todd McFarlane Spider-Man run, he was in it. He was everywhere.
I can't think of a character that did not team up with Wolverine at some point. Jessica Jones, Spider-Woman.
Well, yeah,
Luke Cage,
he's literally been. Technically, he's the oldest character. Well,
I think Apocalypse beats him.
Well, Apocalypse was hibernating. The whole. If you want to go by oldest character, then you could bring in the Cosmos ones.
Okay, so we're saying longest living lifespan would definitely be Wolverine, though.
Yeah,
right?
It's not supernatural or whatever.
Of course. Okay, yeah, I can dig that because Apocalypse goes into his slumbers, like his mummification type thing.
Yeah.
I can dig that.
And James Howlett's been around since the
1800s. What was it, like
1890s?
1890 something?
Yeah.
We're going to have to look up
It was
origins.
like the late 1800s.
Right. Correct date posted here.
Yeah.
YouTube and technology, ain't it great?
Right. But anyways, yeah, so
now we're moving on with the later half of Capwolf as the series continues, and we've got the build up for our big fight scene starting in part 4. All right. Part 4 of Captain America, Capwolf. So, as Cap and Druid are getting surrounded by all these werewolves, they're on the attack. So they start coming for Cap with everything they got. And of course, Dr. Druid gets super helpful and levitates above all the great action.
Yeah. So he can cast an invisibility spell.
Yes, but it takes some time to do this.
Right.
Again, he is different than Doctor Strange. So as Cap's really laying into these. Now, some great things about the 90s. You got a lot of dialogue. You have a lot of story. But you had a lot of really cool artwork mixed in there. So we get a lot of really awesome Cap doing some kicks, some shield punches. And then all of a sudden, as it starts to look bleak for old Cap, old wingtips, Druid teleports him out and says, "It's time to be invisible, my man."
Yeah. And so he gets to have this weird Charlie and the Chocolate Factory moment where he's just floating around invisible above the city.
And that's what Dr. Druid came here for.
I think that's the only thing he actually does in the whole story.
So far, it's the only thing he's done. He did take a really good nap after Cap got his ass whipped by Moonhunter.
Yeah.
So now they can take some time to investigate. We've got Moonhunter going back and finding this guy who's been messing with the Moonstone. That's what's drawing Druid here. That's what they're looking for, trying to find John Jameson Jr. John Jonah Jameson Jr. So they're still trying to catch up with Cap's old friend and make sure he's all right. So as they're going through the town, Dream Hunter goes and talks to the mysterious guy with the Moonstone, says Cap's out there. Well, you better go out there and find him. So he's getting out there. But now it's a town full of normal people.
Yeah, the sun's come up.
So these are innocent people getting transformed into werewolves, and we start to have to wonder the question: do they know what's going on? Is there some sort of control going on? But they're going all around town, and Cap and Dr. Druid are just moseying on about because they're invisible.
No, they come down during this time.
Yeah. They come down and they're walking down in the streets, but still nobody can see them
because at this time is when some dominatrix chick and Wolverine show up.
Right. They walk into this church and we've got a full-on dominatrix and Wolverine sitting in there, and they go on the attack. Wolverine goes right for Captain America, and
he's beating him. He's
got him down. This is one of Captain America's best and oldest friends.
Just beating him.
Just like one of his best and
just beating him.
Make sure there's a countdown on this on YouTube where it counts that I'm counting to 10 to get this out of
Take
me.
a picture of you with red face and blowing out.
Right, just the steam coming out of the sides. Yes, that's special effects right here, guys. So now that Cap's fighting Wolverine, one of his dearest and oldest friends, pulling his punches, he's not turned into a werewolf.
He's getting it beat.
Of course, Wolverine's not turning into a werewolf, like we said. He wouldn't turn into a werewolf because of his healing factor. So they're using that moonstone to control him because even though he's a badger, he's got wolf.
Yeah,
even though he's a badger, he's got a connection to the wolf.
Yeah, because he's got the animal instinct.
Yes, all of his animal instincts. So
like basically
the smell, the hearing, the hypersenses.
He's like one like gene above
human.
Above animal.
Above all.
Like to be human, he's like that one. He's like barely above that line.
Barely above, yeah. But Captain America is out there and he's got to go save everybody. And, you know, he's got Wolverine at his throat. He's trying not to hurt him. But Wolverine is just knocking him about. And all of a sudden, Moon Hunter comes up and shoots him with a tranquilizer in the back. So, I mean, we don't know if Cap could have won.
No, not in the back. No,
in the neck. I'm sorry, it was in the neck.
He sits there because Wolverine has him on the ground,
but he was about to turn. Because there's things, if you don't know about fighting, like you can turn and shift. But it was about to happen. Anyways, we're not getting into this argument. So he gets shot in the neck with the tranquilizer, and he gets taken hostage, and he gets taken into back to the office where we find out Dominatrix Lady was super Dominatrix Lady was actually the doctor changing everybody along. Dr. Druid, where did he go? Well, he found the mysterious guy with the moonstone, because of course he was being drawn to the moonstone, and you find out that his name is Dreadmond, and it's time.
Yeah.
We cut into the lady. She's injected Captain America, and he starts turning into a werewolf. Dreadmond and Dr. Druid are in the most intense staring contest ever in the entire world. And we're only the first couple pages into the best Captain America cover ever, Captain America 405, the Capwolf.
Yeah, I mean, it's the cover that they always use when they talk about this.
Oh, yeah. And it's super cool. I just,
it's funny
out there in
because, like,
90s.
on the cover, his fur is darker than it is in the book.
It is. It's more like a shadowy thing.
Well, because they tried to make him look like Golden Retriever almost in the book.
They really did.
Which makes kind of sense, like...
I wasn't going to bring up this fat guys, but they really did make him look kind of Golden Retriever-ish, where it's supposed to be this, like, badass wolf story. But
Wolverine looked cooler as a wolf. He had, like, blue eyes and white hair. I was like, damn.
That was kind of cool. But Captain America's not without his wits. He's still Captain America. Even as he turns into the werewolf, his instinct is to grab his shield and try to figure out what's going on. So he escapes. Moon Hunter has to go after him. They're chasing him through the woods. We're still into the most intense staring contest in the world. And then Cap comes back to the doctor to try to get himself fixed. He doesn't want to be a werewolf. He wants to be Captain America. He needs to save people. So she tricks him. Of course, this is all animal instincts kicking in that Cap doesn't have experience in controlling. She tricks him into getting in a cage with a bunch of other werewolves.
Yeah, and then basically it starts this whole alpha male fight to see who runs the pack type thing.
Right, because we're starting to get into the end of our story here.
The last two, because so in the cage you see that there's Bane, there's Werewolf by Night, Paul something.
Yeah.
Anyways, and then Jameson. And his
Jameson, and I think Wolfsbane's in there, and Farrell from X-Force.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Farrell. She was, I don't believe she ever hit the New Mutants. Maybe she was in there a little bit, but primarily Cable's X-Force team from the 90s.
So Cap starts having to fight them and everything, and then it comes down to him and Jameson.
Yeah.
And he beats him. And the funny thing is that, like, right after the fight, like, they all seem to have their senses about him again.
Right. They immediately realize Cap is the alpha male. As you should. All right, so we're starting to get into the rest of the story here, and we're getting to our big climax. So now that Captain America's beaten the big white wolf, the big alpha male that was there, which we know is going to be Jonah Jameson Jr., because we know about his character, we cut to a scene where we've got Dreadmond, who's defeated Druid from their staring contest. Druid must have blinked. It does go into more in the fight, it's just that stupid. But we get Dr. Druid's tied up with this big metal mask on his face, some sort of magic amulet to keep him from being able to talk. As Cap's in the cage, Wolfsbane, who, if you don't know who she is at this time was with X Factor, but one of the original New Mutants, was a mutant that could gradually turn into a werewolf, but was mostly human. It was a mutant power as opposed to being, magically turned into a werewolf. She
didn't turn into a werewolf though. She turned into a wolf, like a straight wolf.
Well, that didn't come until the future. At this time, she had never turned into full wolf. She was still kind of that stand-up werewolf time. But there's a lot of history with Rain Sinclair from the New Mutants on this one. But she's able to keep her faculties about her and be able to talk directly. And she knows it's Captain America. She talks some sense into him, tells him, now he's the alpha male around here. So he gets all the wolves together to create...
Well, first, he's able to get speaking with them because she
calms him down.
She teaches... She, pushes on his neck for some reason and teaches him how to speak in wolf. To speak in wolf.
There's parts I was trying to intentionally skip because they're kind of weird and ridiculous. And
but you're going to go with the doggy pyramid?
That's why we have Perseus here to catch me on my shit. But I was going right into the coolest dog pyramid ever. Fuck a Westminster dog show.
Yeah, the wolf pyramid.
So they get into a big pyramid that Captain America can climb up all the werewolves' bags. They just literally
copied and pasted the same thing. It was bad.
But he's able to get to the top of their cage, get the bar out, get them out, start bringing everybody out, and lead them out to freedom. And as they're heading out, Wolverine's in his cell, but he is still completely insane from the mind control from the Moonstone that's going on. So Cap has to leave him behind.
What bothers me about that scene is there is a metal door. His adamantium
could slice.
Should be able to slice through that metal door. So so there's,
he does it quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, there's got to be something else there,
Maybe it's part of the mind control
Yeah.
from the Moonstone. Maybe the Moonstone's doing this to him, but they know they have to leave him there because they couldn't control him. He'd be able to cut him to ribbons. Dreadmond is leading this big, huge ritual in this big room where all the werewolves that he has full control of are sitting there watching. As Captain America, unknowingly in his Capwolf form, is heading right towards the same ritual. And as he opens a door, bam, there's our Moon Hunter, and there's the dominatrix Dr. Lady that's turning all these werewolves. So he's in control of the werewolves now. Let's attack, get at them. He gets them down. We find out that Moon Hunter was Zachary Moon Hunter, who had been mind controlled by Dreadmond and didn't know what he was doing. But the doctor full well knew.
Well, but before that happens, before they actually get them, he cuts Dr.
Well, that happens right at this time.
Well,
Capwolf, after everybody's captured here, as he's raging through this room, that's when Dreadmond slices the throat of Dr. Druid, letting the blood leak onto the bloodstone, and Dreadmond grabs it.
Moonstone.
What did I say?
Bloodstone.
Oh. And Dreadmond, the blood's dripping onto the blood.
The blood is dripping onto the Moonstone.
Blood is dripping onto the Moonstone. Dreadmond grabs it, and this huge transformation stops as Captain America realizes his friend is dead. He's getting pinned down by a bunch of werewolves. And now we're getting into the end-all, be-all of our story, guys.
Yeah, so here we... this is the climax, so... We knew, so he used Druid's blood to activate something in the amulet, which we'll find out here in just a second what that is.
And I forgot to mention, it's one panel in the book, but We find out Cable knows that Pharaoh's missing, who we all know is another mutant wolf.
Yeah. I mean,
So we know we got some more.
Let's inject another character. You know.
Again, it's one of those things.
He
like,
shows
let's put
up
some
for
characters in.
he shows up for like 3 panels.
Here, he is in a total of this one in one panel, ladies and gentlemen. One panel. Huge Cable fan, though, so...
So you were okay with it?
I'm completely okay with it. I will make all the excuses in the world, because at this time,
So basically, in this part, you got your cameos from every single werewolf type
So let's count them down, guys. We've had the Spider-Man cameo with J. Jonah Jameson. We've got the Avengers tie-in with Dr. Druid. We've got the X-Men tie-in with Wolverine. We've got the X-Factor tie-in with Wolfsbane. Now Cable tie-in from X-Force, so we know we're going to have a Pharaoh tie-in from X-Force as well.
And Black Widow.
The Black Widow at the beginning taking care of Cap's old friend Dennis, who, doesn't have control of himself anymore.
And she took over the Avengers during that time.
And she's taken over the Avengers for him. So, I don't know if we've got enough pages left.
Yeah.
But let's get into the final part of this story. All right, guys. So as our story's coming to an end, what's going on with Dreadmond in the Moonstone with the blood of his enemy on it? It starts to change him, and he changes in to Star Fox. Star Wolf. The cosmic entity of the werewolves.
He does look pretty badass.
He does look cool. But this just came out of nowhere. Basically, he turns into like the Captain Universe of werewolves.
Well, I was going to say Eternity.
Absolutely, Eternity, exactly like but a werewolf. So cool looking though. Yeah. I mean, this was some high quality shit right now. So we got our big Star Wolf that's ready to go, and Captain America's going to attack him. He's getting the crap beat out of him by all these other werewolves that Dreadmond is controlling. And this is when we find Cable. He's finally caught up to Pharaoh, who hadn't made it to the werewolf sanctuary yet, but was being drawn to it. So he hits her with the trank gun. Says, I got to keep investigating. Ends up making it to the church where Captain America is fighting with our Star Wolf, my bad. And starts shooting everything, and now he's attacking Captain America, and Captain America's fighting him, plus he's fighting Star Fox.
Yeah, but the fight between Cable and Cap was
so quick.
And it was basically...
Cap took out the rifle with his shield.
Yeah. And then jumped on him, and then bit his gun when he pulled it out.
Yeah, bit it, and he chewed it up like a chew toy. Like he was just basically a little puppy.
And then he jumps off of him like right after that.
Yeah, jumps right off of him, and they ended up getting wrapped up. And that big white wolf that we remember before, that we all know as John Jameson Jr.
Yeah,
J is carrying in Dr. Druid, who is, to us, has to be dead.
Oh, yeah.
Puts him on the table next to Dominatrix Doctor, takes one of the werewolf needles, injects her, and then holds up a sign that says, "Find an antidote." Whoa, he could write?
Right, that's why I think it's so hilarious, the fight in the cage.
Yeah.
Because if they all had their, if they're all this
their wits or their faculties about them, yeah.
Exactly. Then why did they fight?
Right, exactly. But we've got Captain America. He's back fighting Dreadmond. He's getting wrapped up in a rug with Cable. They can't move. He came out to do this. And that's when we start to move into our other characters that we didn't know about. So while our White Wolf has this stuff going on where he's got the doctor down, Moonhunter escapes from his prison because the werewolves had thrown them into the cage that they were in, and goes and frees our old pal Wolverine. Once they go and free Wolverine, they're going out trying to figure out what's going on, wander into the hospital room where JJ is getting ready to inject the woman, and all of a sudden Dr. Druid wakes up and frees Wolverine of his mind control. So Wolverine knows he's got to go save Cap, is going to the church, finds Captain Cable wrapped up in the carpet, frees them right there. Captain America goes to attack Star Fox.
Wolf.
Right. Reaches into his throat, grabs out the Moonstone, tosses it to Cable. Cable, in a heroic effort, catches the Moonstone, places it on the ground, and mightily steps on it, crushing the Moonstone and ending Star Fox.
Wolf.
Yeah.
It is,
and that's
probably
where our
one
story
of the biggest
ends.
letdown endings I've seen in a while. I mean, come on, an item that powerful, and he's just gonna throw it to Cable, and especially.
So you just toss it to him, and he's just.
But especially a stone that had just made a Star Wolf.
Right.
You know,
a cosmic entity of werewolf.
So there's got to be some power in that stone, and then he drops it on the ground. And he steps on it with the heel of his boot, and then apparently everything's hunky dory after
Everything's hunky dory, and Wolverine looks at Captain America and says, "I like your look, Cap." And that is actually officially the end,
right,
of the Capwolf story. The next story, the next issue rather, that leads into this is a quick, let's inject Cap, get him back to normal. J. Jonah Jameson's there. We've got some stuff that happens that gets into another big rabbit hole of a Marvel story.
Right.
One of the Infinity Saga stories where doppelgangers pop out and some background stuff. But this is really just a quick wrap up that was the story. Here, he's normal again. There's another story happening down here. Thanks for coming and visiting Captain America.
Yeah. Yeah, it was basically just so they could make sure that people weren't like, well, I thought he was still a wolf, you know?
Right.
Like, when they go
we get into the next story, and he's just walking around as a human. Like, wait a minute.
It was like literally the first thing they did in that next issue. It was like, oh, by the way, you know, that chick figured out how to cure everybody.
How to cure everybody. Now that the Moonstone's destroyed, she can figure out how to be a doctor again and not a dominatrix killer.
Yeah, yeah. It was interesting. I mean, the amount of cameos in this, as well as just the over the top 90s-ish.
Over the top fighting story, build up, end.
Yeah, makes it one of those ones that you enjoyed reading because it was just stupid. It wasn't your.
I wouldn't call it stupid. I'd call it campy.
Yeah, it wasn't your typical, Captain America.
Right. So, it's not your typical Captain America story. It's not your typical end of the world story. It was a story that Right. It's a hey, this is what's happening with Cap right now. Let's throw something cool in here like a werewolf. And I'm telling you, the Capwolf, just the look of that guy. If you guys ever get the chance, I know these are old 90s books. They can sometimes be a little bit harder to find if you're not in an area where you can hunt. But just the artwork in this and the over the top. The
90s books were pretty abundant.
They are, but you go to look for a specific one.
Yeah, I mean,
especially when you get to a random story like this.
If it's a key, then yeah. But
it's starting to become more popular. They did do a Marvel Legends action figure once of Capwolf, which I believe I have one or two of those.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Right.
Somewhere around here.
Somewhere. But in the 90s, this is what you get. You got some really cool, wordy, over-the-top stories that the endings, I'm not going to say they fall flat, but they end up going quick. I mean, I absolutely love how it was just, let's get the stone out. All you got to do is step on it. Boom, done. Jameson's back. What up? I'm cool, Cap.
And I mean, you're literally putting in your hand into what looked like a vortex, or and,
like the depths of space. Yeah, to just pull out this moonstone.
You can go ahead and reach in there and grab the moonstone. Sure, why not? That seems like a design flaw for a supreme being, but,
right? But hey, you don't know.
Death Star had an exposed air vent,
right, no bigger than a womp rat. Well, that was our story for today, guys. Thank you for joining us. Capwolf, one of my fave Cap stories. So off the wall and over the top, it just makes it so campy and great. If you do have it,
his butt, which makes it good too.
The countdown again. Again, thanks for coming by, guys. We appreciate everything. My name's Cap.
Perseus.
And thanks again for tuning in with us here at Live from Krakoa, Not Another Mutant Story.
Thanks.